We're getting ready for Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur's Divine Appearance Day on Monday. We'll have some time for the next few days to hear a little bit about him. And I'm starting off in the Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Vaibhava. And this is chapter 1, Qualities and Character of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta. Sorry. We're praying today for the mercy of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur, our Param Guru, or our Param Guru, depending on which part of the tree you're sitting on. And may His divine grace descend upon us by hearing about Him, and may we work to fulfill His mission in this world. The character of all Vaishnavas is profound and unfathomable. Yet each manifests divine traits in different degrees and in different ways. For instance, Srila Ramananda Roy fully conquered lust. Sri Damodar Pandit was famed for his objective criticism. Sri Haridas Thakur personified forbearance. And Sri Sanatan Goswami and Sri Rupa Goswami were exceptionally meek and humble. Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur was focused, tenacious, and staunch. Like his guru, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji, he was steadfast in renunciation and bhajan. Despite being raised in middle-class comfort, his innate tendency was toward austerity. As an ideal Acharya, he never compromised his practice of devotional principles. He carefully observed the details of sadhana bhakti, such as always wearing tilak, regularly chanting the Mahamantra on beads, and reciting Gayatri, and attending aratis. He rose early each morning, usually before anyone else, and rarely napped during the day. Being a Nityasiddha, there was no need for Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur to follow such ordinances meant for the uplift of neophytes. Yet he did so to set an example for and induce faith within his disciples and the public at large. He averred that if he were not exemplary, no one would obey him. Whatever he asked of others, he himself followed. Had he relaxed his standards even slightly, Prakrita Sahajas would have taken that as an excuse to continue whimsically neglecting the scripturally prescribed regulations of devotional service. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur often quoted from Mundaka Upanishad 1-12. The terms Shrotriya, learned in Shastra as received in Guru Parampara, and Brahmanishta, fully dedicated to Godhead, emphasizing that these qualifications are necessary for a genuine Guru, and that one who has them will naturally also be of irreproachable character. By personally fulfilling these criteria, he established the scriptural standard for accepting the role of Guru. Moreover, his inestimable qualities distinguished him as a transcendental giant, fit to be addressed as Jagat Guru. As Srila Sanatan Goswami had told Srila Haridas Thakur, Apane Acharya keha, na kare prachar, prachar kore na keha, na kare na achar. Acharya prachar na mera kara dui karu, tumi sarva guru tumi jagatera aro. Some devotees follow the practices of bhakti but do not preach, whereas others preach but do not practice properly. By your behavior in preaching, you simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name. You are the guru of the whole world, for you are the most advanced devotee in the world. That from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 3:4-102. 3 means Antyalila. Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur was intense, and he intensely desired that everyone he came in contact with, and indeed the entire universe, embrace his mood of unremitting dedication to Krishna. His personality was permeated with utter rejection of anything smacking of worldliness. And because his nigh insistence that others similarly abandon all attachments and fully surrender to Krishna resembled the attack of an aggressor, he was often misunderstood by those he sought to help. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati's very presence inspired awe. His glance was so powerful and penetrating that few could bear it. His every movement and gesture expressed extraordinary inner strength. Many smug persons became humbled and submissive simply by entering his presence, as did Mahārāj, Adirāj, Vijay, Chanda, Bahadur of Burdwan, who related, quote, I often went to see Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī and naturally bowed at his lotus feet whenever I did. Yet at one point I considered, I am the great Mahārāj of Burdwan. Among all the highly respected people in Bengal society, none is more famous and respected than I. Who is this sādhu in comparison to me? Why should I prostrate before him? Next time I won't, and I'll watch how he reacts. On my next visit, I barged in on him and blurted, I have something to say to you. But before I could speak further, my head automatically went down to the floor in front of him. I was unable to wait to see his response to my rudeness. The canon governing Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati's life was Krishnarte Akila Cheshta. Everything should be done for Krishna. That quotation is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22:126. Always busy satisfying Krishna in innumerable ways, he unwaveringly personified that maxim. Day and night, wherever he happened to be, Śrīla Sarasvati Thakur was constantly absorbed in topics of Krishna. After his heart condition manifested, when people would ask, how are you? He often replied, I am all right, but Kunja Prabhu does not indulge me in Harikatha, hence I am unwell. He had no interest even in bathing in the ocean at Puri or in holy rivers, for he considered such activities a diversion from his life engagement of immersion in bhajan, preaching and writing. Although he manifested different moods at different times, he was always thinking of Krishna and was never frivolous, mundane, or mediocre. Occasionally he became pensive and withdrawn. Sometimes he spoke so ferociously that others became unnerved and tremulous. When delivering Harikatha to his students, he was formal and grave. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī exemplified Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement that wherever the eyes of one with Krishna prema fall, he sees only Krishna. Even when observing the apparently prosaic activity of plowing fields, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī respectfully accepted it as an udipana for service to Krishna, because produce from the mat soil was for offering to Krishna and his devotees, and plowing is a reminder of Baladeva Sankarshan, the primeval holder of a plow. Udipana means something that sparks in you a feeling of devotion. Sometimes an example Prabhupada gives is that if you're a parent and the parent sees little tiny shoes of a beloved daughter on the doorstep, then immediately love wells up in the heart. You feel, oh, my daughter. So udipana is sometimes someone sees a conch shell and then thinks of Krishna, or sees a peacock fan and then thinks, oh, Krishna wears peacock feathers, and it suddenly stimulates in him or her this surge of feeling for Krishna. This is udipana. When in mountainous areas such as Shillong, Masorji, Darjeeling, or Uttachumand, his thought, hope I didn't, Shillong?
Yes, that's correct.
Mussoorie, Darjeeling, I know, and Ottachamud.
I do not know that.
Anyone? Okay. His thoughts inevitably turned to Govardhan, and with great enthusiasm he would continuously douse his companions with Harikatha. Pertaining to that most sacred of hills, This pure, natural, spontaneous, intense, and uninterrupted attachment for Sri Sri Radha Krishna was Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur's inherent and focal lineament, which, combined with his ability and fervent desire to give Krishna to others, revealed him to be an intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya, come to this plane to execute his mission. As he expressed, quote, "If a poor man takes the guise of a philanthropist, he can give away only as much as he personally possesses. But the eternal treasure of the Vaishnava is directly Narayan. If Narayan gives himself, he holds a little back. But the Vaishnava can give Narayan completely. He who possesses genuine knowledge of the whole entity, Krishna, is totally devoted to serving Krishna in all ways. And there is nothing comparable to the lotus feet of such a person." I'll read it one more time, and then Havi Prabhu, if you want to give an explanation. "If a poor man takes the guise of a philanthropist, he can give away only as much as he personally possesses. But the eternal treasure of the Vaishnava is directly Narayan. If Narayan gives himself, he holds a little back. But the Vaishnava can give Narayan completely. He who possesses genuine knowledge of the whole entity Krishna is totally devoted to serving Krishna in all ways, and there is nothing comparable to the lotus feet of such a person." Any?
What the impact of Narayan having a bag, and that's all he can give. It's the sweetest part of this. And Narayan has a little bag. Is that what I understand? And therefore
Holds a little back.
He holds back. I see it, so I didn't understand it. Okay, he holds back, but the Vaishnava, he gives Narayan completely. Yes, I mean itself, it is all there. The love that resides in the Vaishnava's heart is so big that the minimum he can do is to share the beauty and the greatness of Narayan. What else can he do if he's enjoying constantly inside his heart this treasure but sharing the beauty and the greatness of Krishna?
That's amazing, yeah, because what's the first thing we do when we get something that's beautiful or that charms us? We share it with other people because it's like if you don't have somebody to share it with, then you can't really enjoy it yourself, just individually. I was also thinking about how, as mentioned in the 6 qualities of devotional service, first is that pure devotional service immediately frees one from all distress. It's the beginning of all auspiciousness. It puts one in transcendental pleasure. It is rarely achieved. It is those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation, and it's the only way to attract Krishna. Those are the 6 that Rupa Goswami mentions at the beginning of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And one of them is interesting. It's that it's rarely achieved. Because we hear all the time how devotional service is easily achieved if you just say Hare Krishna or Nityananda Gaur, and then you're infused with spiritual benefit. So it's explained in that section of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that most people get to asakti, or it's very rare to get to asakti, which is the precursor to bhava. And in order to get to prema, you have to have bhava. But asakti takes a long time, because first of all, it means that you have to be exclusively devoted. You have no other consideration except for serving Krishna. You're totally attached to Krishna. But the reason that Krishna hesitates is because when he gives pure devotional service, he's giving himself. And it means that he's giving himself to be controlled by the devotee. That's mentioned in the Bhagavatam in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, where Brahma says, Jnane prayasa varapasya namante eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiyavartam stane stita shrutikatam tanavanmano bir ye prayaso jita jito pyasitaistir lokyam. That he advises that everyone give up any other process except for pure devotional service. He said, don't try to reach Krishna through your own speculative process. Just completely surrender yourself, especially to the process of hearing. Stane stita shrutikatan tanavan monobir means that whatever situation you're in now, just hear, add that to your life. And then he said by that process of submissive hearing, then jita, jito, ajita, Krishna is known as Ajita because he's unconquerable. He becomes Jita, or conquered. And how's he conquered? By the love that somebody develops from hearing about him. So that's one of the reasons that he's rarely achieved, is because he's hesitant to bestow that upon others, because then they control him with their love. However, it just struck me in this passage that devotees don't have that hesitation. As you pointed out, they have that love for Krishna in their heart, and they want to share it with everybody. But whereas Krishna is a little hesitant of giving himself, the devotees are like, no, take. It reminds me when Prabhupada first came to New York. In Mukunda Goswami's book, he talks about the first feast he went to, where Prabhupada was serving himself. He cooked, and then he served all the preparations himself right out of the pots. And he walked around serving everybody. And Mukunda Mahārājā said that Prabhupada walked around and his mantra was, take. He kept saying, take. And Mukunda Mahārājā said he had never heard anything like that before, or seen anything like the host walking around making everyone take more. Take. And so, like Havi Prabhu was saying, the devotees always full-heartedly giving Krishna, whereas Krishna may hold back a little bit. But the devotee, if you get around the devotee, it's much easier to get Krishna because he's got him. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, you have Krishna, you can give him to me. So I'm running behind you saying, please, give me this. Excuse me. It's the mango pickle. I can't resist it. I said, give me more mango pickles. Take. You were going to say, Prabhu.
You know that I was going to say something. Yeah. I didn't show any symptom, but no, yeah. But it is so. But why would Krishna hold his love, giving himself, and then only maybe to give the devotees the service to do that?
Well, one thing is, in the 6th canto, Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments about how it is that certain devotees take longer to come back to Godhead. For instance, Bharat Mahārājā. He took 3 lifetimes. First of all, he had a little trace in him of karmakanda. He wanted to do some philanthropy. So when that opportunity came with the little deer, that impurity, that anartha in his heart, it flared up. And therefore he had to take 2 more births to come to that point of no more philanthropy, only devotional service. And so Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta says that Krishna recognizes the heart of the pure devotee and knows that the pure devotee's objective is the highest thing. Doesn't want any mixture at all. And as you know, in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, 8th verse, Tatenu kampam susamikshamano in the commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, that's Śrīla Vishwanath, that Krishna is expert at giving the devotee the specific kind of misery that will, it's targeted, like in cancer research nowadays, the recombinant DNA technology, they create special cells, they combine them together just so it'll target other, specific parts of the cancer that's in the body. So Krishna's expert scientist, he knows specifically what's in the heart of the devotee, so he gives a kind of corresponding misery so the devotee will give up the last vestige of attachment in the material world. So it looks like he's being reluctant, but actually he's fulfilling the innermost desire of the devotee to have pure devotional service, even though there may be this conundrum that I want it, but I can't get rid of this last attachment. So it looks like Krishna is drawing it out. Says Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but it's only to appease the devotee, to give him exactly what he wants, which is pure devotional service. But the only explanation given is that I've heard for the hesitancy on the other side is that he's giving himself. So it's a very confidential, personal thing. It's not automatic. He thinks about it. Like, don't we think about it before we reveal our mind? The most intimate devotees that we are associated with, our best friends, then we may think, should I tell them or shouldn't I? Should I reveal this thing or shouldn't I? And it's a personal, confidential relationship that we have with Krishna, and he doesn't fully expose himself unless he's absolutely sure that the person has the wherewithal to, it's like people say, well, you have to develop faith in God. Well, God has to develop faith in you too. Why should it only go one way? Why shouldn't he also get the chance to check you out and say like, wait, you better wait. What do you think, Nirkula?
Very nice explanation you gave, Guru Maharaj, about Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explaining that Krishna is actually drawing out pure devotion service, but externally it may seem that he's not fulfilling that desire. So on similar lines, actually, the reason you mentioned about hesitancy from Krishna's side, I was told many years ago by Damodar Vamshadhari Prabhu that he gave the example that if Krishna gives himself without thinking, then he says then for him there's no option to back off or take a step back. So he said like he's giving to Mother Yashoda himself completely. So that's why he also was explaining on similar lines the same explanation that you shared.
Nice. Yes, much to the point.
Yes, just like Prabhu said, in Damodar Leela, Krishna reveals to those who are fully dedicated, and it has to be sadhaka's prayas. That means he's trying hard, and then Krishna delivers. So it goes that way. If the sadhak is fully surrendering, then Krishna reveals. That's what I
This is an excellent point, and especially from the Leela. Krishna noted that Yashoda was perspiring. It indicated her hard work trying to tie him up. And Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the rope being 2 inches too short, the Leela is that Krishna stole butter and then ran away, and his mother tried to catch him and finally did, tied him up. Okay. So then 2 inches represents 1 inch the endeavor of the devotee, and the other inch, Krishna's noticing the endeavor and then giving himself to the devotee. So there's that reciprocity. Okay, I'll read a little more, shall I?
Yes.
Dynamic, resolute, and compelling, Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur was determined to give Krishna to a world enthusiastic to receive him. He optimistically embarked on projects that in ordinary estimation seemed unachievable, and persevered until realizing them. For him, the word impossible did not exist, and upon receiving an order from him, no disciple considered pleading impossible. Indeed, his disciples regarded Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur as empowered with transcendental potency for overcoming the multiple hurdles that unceasingly arose, as had been indicated by a narrow escape just prevenient to his widespread preaching career. Prior to renting the house at 1 Ultadanga Junction Road, early one morning, Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur set out with Kunja Bihari Prabhu and Ananta Vasudev Prabhu to inspect it. Walking along the footpath, he was just about to step under a shop awning when it suddenly crashed down in front of him, its prop having been slightly impacted by a car. Had it collapsed even a second later, it would have landed on his head. Ananta Vasudev Prabhu later commented, "Who knows whether this dramatic performance of being mysteriously saved from an unthinkable event and imminent danger on the day of starting an auspicious undertaking for founding Sri Bhaktivinod Asana was a harbinger of the future history of the Gaudiya Math. The very day on which the initial preparations for establishing a center for propagating actual truth around the universe were made, our Gurudev made us understand the Shastriya proclamations, Shriyamsi Bahu Vignani. Many obstacles arise in auspicious activities. And Shri Bhakti Marg Iha Kanta Koti Rudha. In this world, the path of devotion is beset with millions of thorns. To propagate the truth, one must be ready to take the burden of numerous varied perils, if not to place one's life if not to place one's very life at stake. As the morning speaks for the day, so did our Guru Mahārāj predict the future of Gaudiya Math, preaching by staging his pastime to indicate that we should be ready. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati's legendary, powerful personality defied modish accusations that bhakti was for timorous weaklings and effeminates. Yet despite his hard exterior, he was so extraordinarily humble that he often described himself as a fallen soul and would request blessings from his disciples or even from common people. He would join his palms and say, "Dasosmi, I am your servant. I am a servant," to whoever approached him, even before they would offer him respect. No one was allowed to touch his feet, not even young boys. Whenever anyone tried to do so, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī would stretch out his long arms to restrain him, saying, "Dasosmi." He prohibited even his initiated disciples from touching his feet. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī eidetically, just seeing if this has a dictionary. Eidetic, adjective from psychology, relating to or denoting mental images having unusual vividness and detail, as if actually visible. As a noun, a person able to form or recall eidetic images. Eidetically. So again, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati's eidetically remember the names of all his disciples and others he had met. Often when returning to a place, even after a long time, he would ask by name for certain individuals he had previously met there. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī was punctilious in receiving visitors. Whenever he received a letter stating that a person was scheduled to arrive on a certain date and time, he would arrange that 1 or 2 brahmacharis meet the guest at the station. Even if the visitor knew the way or had not asked for help, still Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī would send someone. Once a guest arrived at the mat, late at night and requested Mahaprasad, but was told that there was none. Chanting japa on the veranda close by, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī heard that and ordered, "See that he gets Mahaprasad. He has come late at night hungry. Prepare something for him, at least flat rice." Nor was Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur's concern for others limited to those in human form. In Sajjanatoshini, he featured articles denouncing the cruelty of and lauding efforts to curb hunting and cow slaughter. And when in April 1919 he was traveling by horse cart in a rural area of Midnapur district, the driver repeatedly beat the horses all along the 8 to 10 mile route. Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur strongly objected and adjured the local inhabitants to prevent such mistreatment from happening ever again. Such compassion was intrinsic to this great personage who had dedicated his existence for relieving all living beings of suffering. Thus, the character of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī can be properly understood only in terms of his overwhelming desire to propagate Shuddha Bhakti. 2. The revolutionary preacher of truth. The spiritually minded will judge how many major revolutions in history compare to the revolutionary preaching by the Gaudiya Math against the materialistic thought patterns of the world. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī inherited the urge to preach from his father and mentor, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Energized by the Thakur's vision of Shuddha Bhakti diffusing throughout the globe, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī had an unrelenting drive to deliver Shuddha Bhakti to all jivas in the universe, and even to those beyond it. He wanted to capture the whole territory of Maya and convert it to Krishna consciousness. He could not tolerate that there would be any place devoid of Krishna Bhakti. Not restricted within the cultural horizon of Bengal, he wanted to annihilate misconceptions at all levels in all cultures of human society and implement full-fledged theism everywhere. That's in quotations, full-fledged theism everywhere. Even though seemingly impossible, he took it as his duty to spread Shuddha Bhakti by all means and at any cost. To establish Lord Chaitanya's mission, the fetters of caste, ritual, and indeed all pre-existing stereotypes and dogmas would have to be demolished. Hence, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur inevitably became a revolutionary. His efforts were concentrated in a Bengal where Gaudiya Vaishnavism had lost its original dynamism, and from the ethnological perspective had transmuted into yet another component of the vast heterogeneous mosaic known as Hinduism. Although widespread, Vaishnava Dharma was enveloped by a thick fog of nescience, having become synonymous with artificial shows of ecstasy, mantras imparted for money, flesh-eating devotees, quote-unquote, cheaters competing to be lauded as avatars, Siddha Pranali initiation for the asking, and descriptions of the amorous pastimes of Sri Sri Radha Krishna bandied about like cheap market gossip. In this way, Prakrita Sahajas had etiolated. Hold on. Please wait one minute. Edilated of a plant pale and drawn out due to lack of light. Edilated mung bean seedlings, having lost vigor or substance, feeble, tone, bedilated nostalgia. Origin 8th century from the verb etiolate, from French etiolere, from Norman French, grown into hulum id. So basically it means to become paler, drawn out, to lose vigor. thick fog of nescience, flesh-eating, siddha pranali, banding about. In this way, Prakrita Sahajas had ideated the movement of Lord Chaitanya into a foolish and immoral travesty of Vaishnava Dharma. Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur had to re-establish the genuine parampara which had all but vanished. To purge the Gaudiya lineage of impurities, he publicly decried ecclesiastical and social conventions that were suffocating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sampradaya. Animated with the heroic spirit of Hanuman in opposing Ravana, Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur committed himself to a lifetime of struggle against the beneficiaries of the rotten status quo. Preaching meant fighting. Although Indian society had traditionally been deeply religious, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī insisted that mere theocentricity was not sufficient. Thus he openly criticized beliefs and practices held sacral by most Hindus, such as impersonalism and demigod worship. With unfaltering determination, he uninhibitedly cudgeled various misrepresentation of Vaishnava Dharma, business in the name of religion, casteism, atheism, Western cultural chauvinism, sensualism posing as spirituality, and innumerable forms of opinionative and deviant philosophies, whatever fell short of pure devotion to Krishna. Opinionative. It's a nice word, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This was in accord with the intrinsic purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, which singularly among scriptures established the topmost understanding of the Supreme Lord and the individual soul's relationship with Him, and expounded dharma prochita kaitava, complete rejection of religious principles that are selfishly motivated. Holding that every word of Srimad Bhagavatam outweighs any other opinion, past, present, or future, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī likened all religious processes, save that given in Bhagavatam, to jars of poison, with a little milk floating on top, and composed a distich. That's the way Mahārāj wrote deliberately to confound people like me. Prosody, a pair of, distic, it's pronounced distic, and a pair or verse lines, a couplet, distic, from Greek, a measure of 2 lines. D means twice, and stikos, line, distic. Okay, so again, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī likened all religious processes, save that given in Bhagavatam, to jars of poison with a little milk floating on top. Would you like some poison with a little milk floating on top? And composed a distic based on Bhagavatam's rejection of motivated religious practices. Priti viti jata kata dharma nama chale, Bhagavata kahe taha parapurna chale. Bhagavatam states that whatever in the world is passing as dharma is actually wholesale deception. Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur lived for truth, and like a valiant warrior, never hesitated to attack the myriad manifestations of falsity, personifying the spirit of Srimad Bhagavatam by insisting that the highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. He effectively sifted out the real form from the unreal, the servant of the real from the servant of the unreal, the Vaishnav from the non-Vaishnav. He never countenanced the slightest deviation from the truth, not even by the most eminent or nearest and dearest persons, and would detect, expose, and dissect even the subtlest presence of fallacy in theories and statements that to others appeared entirely plausible. And he held that all prevalent so-called truths point only to a limited ideal formulated by subjective projection, and thus are actually untruths and impasses in realizing the truth. He exhorted, "Do not try to discover the nature of truth by the exercise of your imagination. Do not endeavor to attain the truth through experience of this world. Do not manufacture truth in order to satisfy your erring inclinations, or hastily accept anything for the reason that it satisfies such inclinations. Do not regard as truth anything that has been built up or has the support of a majority of people like yourself, nor as untruth anything that is rejected by the overwhelming majority. According to the scriptures, there will be found hardly one in a crore of human beings who really worships the truth. What is proclaimed by the united voices of all the people of this world as truth may turn out to be false. Therefore, cease to confront the truth in a challenging mood. The truth is not brought into existence by such arrogance. One has to approach the truth in the spirit of absolute submission. It is necessary to listen to truth. Truth is self-revealing, and only when it is pleased to reveal itself can its actual nature be known to us and not otherwise." He explained why broadcasting the truth was rare. Everyone is eager for adoration by others, not for the absolute truth. Those who make a show of being preachers do not disturb mankind, but rather maintain everyone's present mentality while busily protecting their own existence. Therefore, there is no propagation of the truth, since one's popularity is not served by speaking or hearing the truth. Pure items are rare and not easily attainable, and so are not much appreciated. Similarly, there is no respect for those who do not misguide people, but are busy trying through Sankirtan and Harikatha to turn them toward the Lord. At present, it is fashionable to be cheated by those who in the name of Dharma misguide people. Real devotees do not speak to satisfy their audiences. They do not cheat people. Rather, pure devotees reveal the defects of cheaters who love to compromise. Only fortunate persons learn to be cautious after hearing the words of saints. Although the words of genuine devotees may appear to contradict our present taste and experience, nonetheless, they are most auspicious for us. Anybody have any reactions, comments, questions from so far?
I was wondering who wrote this? Who is writing this?
This is Bhakti Vikas Maharaj.
Oh, British devotee?
Yeah. It's the entire biography. It's 2 volumes altogether.
Yeah, and it sounds like when Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī is called lion preacher, right? And vestiges of that attitude was clearly revealed by Śrīla Prabhupada, or inherited by him. I heard at one point in one event in Los Angeles, one devotee was contradicting Prabhupada in one of his one of his disciples was contradicting Prabhupada or arguing against what he was saying, and Prabhupada got so strong that eventually the disciple fainted. Seemingly this is an old man who is just has a cane and so on, but watch out, he was the disciple of Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī.
Yeah. you all want to hear a little more? Yes?
Yes.
You're not suffering, right?
Oh no.
Okay. Hence, a major focus of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati's preaching was to expose cheating in all forms, especially in the spheres of philosophy and religious practice. He denounced as hypocritical all varieties of religion practice without the intention of surrendering to Krishna, such as those meant to improve moral, social, or intellectual life, or promote an irenic ambience. Irenic, or irenic, either way, aiming or aimed at peace, a part of Christian theology concerned with reconciling different denominations and sects. Origin from Greek, irenikos, from irene, peace. So, such as those meant to improve moral, social, or intellectual life, or promote an irenic ambience conducive to genteel sense gratification in this world, those aimed at enjoying enhanced sensual delights in a future birth, or even those aspiring for spiritual liberation, but devoid of devotion to Krishna. He presented religion not as a palliative for the pangs of material existence, but as the acquired alternative to it. He was not interested in becoming famous or respected, in merely creating a good impression, or in becoming a religious icon. He preached to establish Gaudiya Siddhanta, to uphold the dignity of the authentic Gaudiya Sampradaya, and to convince others of the overwhelming necessity of accepting Krishna Bhakti. Śrīla Sarasvati Thakur refused to be molded by popular demand into the stereotyped sadhu of flowery beatitude, passing a halcyon existence and doling out benedictions in exchange for contributions. Nearly all people who approach sadhus seek peace, reassurance, and relief from the bruises of life, expecting blessings for solving their material problems and to facilitate unobstructed sense indulgence. Such individuals do not want or expect a sadhu to force his way into their phantasmagoria and reveal their life to be in need of wholesale reform. But Śrīla Sarasvati Thakur was a different grade of sadhu. Like a lotus which lives in water but remains above it, he moved in human society but was unaffected by it. Even numerous sadhus of his day, most of whom sequestered themselves from the world and its turbulence, could not understand his approach to spiritual life. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati considered that his responsibility as a sadhu was to slash others' misconceptions. Although persons who lead serene lives of study and prayer but do not preach may be regarded as saintly, they cannot be compared to devotees who go out to confront all opposing elements and fight for Krishna. And even among preachers, many prefer to adopt a soft line, averting conflict by not disturbing others' false egos. Sadhus were expected to be mild and non-judgmental, avoiding causing annoyance to others and promoting concord by recognizing all opinions as equally tenable. But Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati Thakur deemed such liberalism another form of deception, a self-serving acceptance born of fear and retribution. In other words, refraining from pointing out others' misdoings lest oneself become subjected to assessment. He parodied the hypocrisy inherent in such mutual social acquiescence by saying, "Mine be cup, tum be chup." Mine be chup, tum be chup. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
You all know that?
Yeah.
All be quiet, you be quiet.
Maybe chup.
Mine be chup, tum be chup. Śrīla Sarasvati Thakur was not for sectarian coexistence, conciliation, or syncretism. His sole means for bridging the abyss between others and himself was to exhort them to come to his side. He spoke against mushy tolerance of nonsensical ideas in the name of ecumenism, which he anyway took as a nebulous and impossible dream, unless people were prepared to forswear miscellaneous rubrics of cheating religion and simply surrender unto Krishna. He expostulated against that style of utopian concility so cherished by worldly idealists who aimed at attuning all streams of human thought within an inclusive, tolerant, pluralistic, open-minded ethos in defiance of Krishna, as capsulized in Ramakrishna's catchy jingle, Jatamat Tatapa. All are approaching the absolute in diverse ways. Śrīla Sarasvatī Thakur countered this by stating that those who worship on assorted religious paths cannot possibly serve Bhagavan. He taught that real harmonizing is achievable only by aligning with Krishna, whereby everyone's actual self-interest would automatically be fulfilled, and that any other attempts for not available in Wikipedia. That's good, that makes me feel better. Dictionary, no definition found. Thanks, Mahārāj. Okay, however seemingly noble, would merely engender further envy, rivalry, and competition, and thus were actually disjunctive and ungodly. You're being a bit disjunctive, Mirkula. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī, dubbed as pseudo-latitudinarianism, the impersonalistic attempt to obfuscate or make light of meaningful differences, such as those between genuine and watered-down dharma, and considered it to be based on what he termed chit-jud samanvayavad, trying to conflate material with spiritual, which he compared with the endeavor to inosculate gold and stone. Do you do that? Know how to intertwine gold and stone? Inosculate. Join by intertwining or fitting closely together. How can Sat and Asat, devotee and non-devotee, pious and sinful, literate and illiterate, demigod and supreme lord, chaste and unchaste, dharma and adharma, light and darkness, constitutional and conditional, bhakti and abhakti, be homologous? Homologous. Homologous, yeah, I said it right the first time, having the same relation. Homologous. Like analogous, but homologous. I'm going to use that in class next time. Everything seems all right to those unmindful of the tidings of the internal reality, who cannot enter into its highly subtle understanding. An ignorant boy may claim that his illegible script has meaning because that of an intelligent person has meaning. And one who does not regard scrawl and meaningful writing as equal will be accused of sectarianism or partiality by the foolish. Now that's one of my favorite statements right there. I'm going to read it again if I may. Might I?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Ready? An ignorant boy may claim that his illegible script has meaning because that of an intelligent person has meaning. And one who does not regard scrawl and meaningful writing as equal will be accused of sectarianism or partiality by the foolish. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Could you say what you like about it?
Confusing at best.
Well, it's saying here basically that, okay, so the analogy is a child. And the child is scribbling away. So he says, okay, then there's a reasonable and well-educated adult there who's writing something. So the child's sitting here scribbling, That's what scrawl is, it's just nothing. And then the other person's writing something sensible. He says, well, we're both writing. It's the same. And if somebody comes along and says that, no, yours is not meaningful, you're just scribbling, and the other person is writing something that's intelligible and important, then someone will say, you're being sectarian. How can you do that? You know, he's doing same thing. That's something that I could relate to, the way people commonly say things like, well, this is my truth, that's your truth. I'm just expressing my truth, even if it has no basis in logic or any kind of axiomatic origin. It's just random. And say, oh, it's the same as yours. Is that what you all took from it?
Yes.
You want to say more about it?
So now that you explained it.
Okay. It just seems so modern with the whole mood of, postmodernism and relativizing everything, and this bent towards saying one truth is as good as another. It's all just an interpretation anyway. There's no absolute truth, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's relative.
Therefore, it's valid. Both are valid.
Both are valid, right? That's what they're saying. The little kid scribbling over here, and the intellectual person writing something that's valuable. They're the same. Chakradol is just waiting to hand the microphone to somebody. He'll take it. Sit your hug.
I liked a couple of points. Initially, when you mentioned that Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur Maharaj's glance is very powerful, that it was hard to behold.
Yes.
If you could say elaborate a little bit more.
Well, integrity is powerful. It's one of the intangibles, but it has its power. For instance, there's the story about, and I forget who's attributed to, but I'll just tell it in a generic way, that the mother was worried about her child because he was eating too many sweets. So he took to the local sādhu and said, could you instruct my child, because he'll listen to you and won't listen to me. And the sādhu said, come back in 3 weeks. So he came back in 3 weeks, and the sādhu said to the child, don't eat so many sweets. And the child said, okay. And then the mother said to the sādhu on a sidebar, like, why did it take 3 weeks couldn't you have just said that 3 weeks ago? And the sādhu said, yeah, but 3 weeks ago I was eating too many sweets. Oh. So I couldn't say it and have the power behind it. So I had to restrain myself and discipline my own activities to be able to say it. And so when somebody has that integrity in his or her life, when he or she speaks, then it's palpable. In fact, it's said in a poetical way by Prithu Mahārājādirāj in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam that when a pure devotee speaks, there's a noticeable change of heart in the listener because, and this is the poetical part, the sound vibration touches Krishna's lotus feet. And on Krishna's lotus feet, there's saffron particles. And then the sound vibration gets mixed with these saffron mercy particles, SMP. And then when it goes in the ear, it transforms the heart because it has a different quality. Because sound carries consciousness. If somebody ever said to you, I don't like your tone of voice, then you know what I'm talking about. Because there's a way that somebody's thinking and then it comes out in the tone. So the countenance of somebody who's all in and is actually following is different from somebody who's kind of in. And they're always holding, like he's pointing out here, that somebody who doesn't want to change their doesn't want to give up their stake in the material world, they're hesitant to really lean into the truth, because then if somebody accepts it, then they also have to give up their stake. There's that story about when Nrsimhadev was fighting with Hiranyakashipu, and Nrsimhadev drops him. He had grabbed him, but then he dropped him. Prabhupada explains because like a cat plays with a mouse, he likes to play with it for a while before he devours it. Lets it go, catches it, lets it go, takes it again. So the demigods were watching the fight, and they wanted their sense gratification back. Every one of them had some kind of stake in the material world. And when they were watching, and Hiranyakashipu got free, they were thinking, oh no, he might actually win this. And not only that, he saw us watching and cheering on to Nrsimhadev. So it's going to be twice as bad when he gets out of this, if he wins. And the reason they were afraid was because they had a stake in it for themselves. And that's why they were afraid. But if somebody doesn't have any stake in the material world, then they're unstoppable. Because the only thing that can slow us down is our own attachment to the material world. I have a little chip in the game here somewhere. Keep it in my back pocket to pull out at the right time. And therefore, I can't be all in. But if somebody's given that up, then when they look at you, there's this transmission that is palpable. It's coming from the subtle and manifesting into our consciousness, because that's the power of integrity. What do you think? Okay. Good and getting better. Standing was still improving. Any last points?
Reminds me of the story of Sanatana Goswami.
Oh, please tell.
The story of Sanatana Goswami when he had just the last coin, right?
He had yeah, okay. Well, he didn't have it, Ishana had it, right? So
yes.
When Sanatana Goswami escaped, then Ishana, his servant, came with him, and he was holding 8 gold coins. Right? That story?
Yes.
You want to tell?
No, I don't know it well.
Okay, so they were going through the mountains clandestinely because he was a political prisoner and he was trying to escape. So his servant came along, but the servant, unlike Sanatana Goswami, brought some insurance money. 8 gold coins he put in his pocket. So when they got to this kind of seedy inn in the hills on the way to freedom, they checked in, and the host was obsequious. He was treating them like best friends, and they had never met. And Sanatana Goswami was a great statesman. He'd been around a while. And so he knew something's wrong. Too much devotion is a sign of a thief, Prabhupada used to say. So then he found out, he asked Ishana, he said, do you have anything valuable with you? You see, the innkeeper had an astrologer who checked them out when they came in, and there's something called prashna, a certain time of day when the people walk in and all the signs at that time, you can tell what's going on. And the innkeeper was a dacoit. He was going to kill him for the money. So he was just trying to get him to be off their guard, and then he would take the money. So Sanatana Goswami preemptively said, do you have any valuable thing with you? And Ishana said, yes, I have 7 gold coins. He actually had 8. So Sanatana said, give them to me. So Ishana hands him 7 gold coins, and Sanatana Goswami takes it to the innkeeper and says, this is for you. And the innkeeper, what are you talking? And he said, no, you take this, because if you don't take it, somebody else is going to kill me for it. And the innkeeper said, well, truth be known, I was going to kill you for it. And I'm really glad you handed it over, because I see you're actually a saintly person, and I'm glad you saved me for the sin. And he said, because I had my astrologer check it out, and he knew you had 8 gold coins. And so Sanatana went back to Ishana, and he said, "You have any more?" He said, "Yeah, I have 1 gold coin." He said, "You take that, go home." And then Sanatan turned around and headed for the hills by himself, completely free, everything else, all other obligations cut, no more attachment to hold him back. It is right at that point when he felt like this sense of exhilaration, because he was free to go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nothing holding him back anymore. That, it's like last vestige is gone, right? Any last points? Any other comments about the reading in general? Anything online? Anybody home there?
Just Hare Krishna. Nothing.
Okay, anybody watching, make a comment because we're about to stop soon.
I very much liked the way you explained the term Udipana, and you related how seeing conch and other paraphernalia reminds about Krishna. Seeing
Yes.
conch.
Yeah. Udipana. Nirpal, any last points?
Oh, well, the inauguration of the newly renovated Altadanga temple is on Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta's appearance
On Monday.
on Monday. Yeah.
We should head down there for it.
Yeah.
Nirpal, like, Sanat Goswami, no more gold coins left. Just head out.
Head out.
That's one of my favorite pilgrimage places. In fact, it's my top most favorite place.
Where is it?
Altadanga Junction Road in Calcutta.
Oh, in Calcutta.
It's the place where Prabhupada first met Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta had that place at Altadanga Junction Road. It was actually a really degraded place. It was sort of a slum. And Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta had his headquarters there. That's when one of Prabhupada's friends from college Prabhupada had dragged him to go there. And the same stone stairs that Prabhupada walked up when he went to meet his guru for the first time are still there. Same stones. They're refurbishing the whole thing, but they're keeping all of the original materials as much as possible in place, and the other ones they're reproducing with the same method that the old kinds of building materials were made out of. So we got a real thrill to go there and see the actual spot where Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta was sitting, and the actual stairs Prabhupada walked up when he went there to meet with Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta. And in that place, at that time, when our Śrīla Prabhupada offered his obeisances to what he just thought was a saintly person, before he came back up from offering obeisances, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta was already giving him an instruction, some service, which was, you should spread this all over the world, especially to Western-speaking countries, because it's the greatest need in society. And that's when Prabhupada then argued that first India has to become independent because it was still under British rule, and he had been part of the Gandhi movement to try to get free from that. And Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is transcendental. It doesn't wait for any other kind of arrangement. It's completed in itself, and it's the most perfect type of revolutionary activity that one could engage in. And then Prabhupada, when he left there, he had that order in his heart already. And he said at that moment he had accepted Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta as his spiritual master. He was initiated by him 12 years later, but at that point he accepted him in his heart, and he also accepted the order he had given him, and it incubated there for many years until he had the wherewithal to enact it later on. So I found that place to be in Udipana. The other place was in Chennai. wasn't the place exactly, but it's which ocean is right there in Chennai? Assyria. It's the Black Sea. Anyway, I went there at night. It was rather dramatic because we went up to the seashore and the stars were out. Couldn't see the water till I got really close to it. And it was, the water was coming in some waves.
In Marina Beach?
Yeah.
Marina?
Bay
Yeah.
of Bengal.
Bay of
The
Bengal.
Bay of Bengal, that's what it was. We went there and someone said that, Prabhupada had sailed out across the Bay of Bengal for America. And just at that moment, being there next to the water, just in proximity to the water that Prabhupada had set out on with such intentionality on the Jaladuta, it stunned me for a minute, just standing there and feeling the vastness of the ocean and the grave mission that Prabhupada was on, and how he had accepted it so many years ago and finally went out onto that ocean across America. It kind of hit me. You hear the story all the time, but in that moment I felt it viscerally. That was kind of udipana. Anything else? We need tech support on aisle 3.
Oh, you slide it.
What happened?
Radha Creep is asking, why is it so hard to give up material attachment?
Radhakripa Prabhu is asking why it's so hard to give up material attachment. Well, one reason is, if it was easy, then we'd stay and dabble in the material world and think I can get out of this no problem at any time. And then we wouldn't take spiritual life seriously. But for those who actually have some sincerity to become Krishna conscious, one of the realizations is about anarthas is, that was a weird sentence, I'm going to start over. For those who have the impetus, feel the need to get out of the material world and go back to Krishna, often, I'm going to start over again. When one develops sincerity to become Krishna conscious, there's a simultaneous realization of how anarthas are holding one back. I don't even notice it until I sincerely want to get out of the material world. I just think this is normal life. In fact, when one gets sadhu sangha, that's when one notices, actually, I'm left behind. These people have the real thing, and I'm the fallen one in the room. And that's a stark realization, followed by now how do I become like them? And then when one begins bhajana kriya, or seriously practicing devotional service with regulation, then one comes into the ocean of anartha nivritti. It's a huge ocean that one has to cross in order to get to nishta, or steadiness in devotional service. And in that ocean, there's a revelation, and that is that a little bit of connection with the material world results in an inordinate amount of trouble. And that's important to know. And so that's one of the reasons it's so hard. Partly because we're so small and the material world, the material nature is so potent because it comes from Krishna, that when we know the implication and we see how difficult it is overcome, then we're much more careful, increasingly more careful in how we interact with the material world. And that's necessary in order to become fixed in devotional service. Vairagya Vijay Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharta Meka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dari Kripambudir Yasamaham Prapadye. The devotees Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach this, that you have to be very serious in order to come to the platform of pure devotional service. And whimsy means that I just do any old thing I want and still think I'm going to get the pure result. It's a kind of insanity, and it also leads to cognitive dissonance, a malaise, a sense of constantly being in anxiety because I know that I'm not all in. Did that answer the question, do you think, Kavi Prabhu? Would you like to say more about it?
No, there's nothing left to say.
And just one last point.
Okay, because we're running out of battery.
Uh-oh, I gotta make this quick. Let's see if I can do this. Prabhupada said once, when someone asked why are material desires so hard to overcome, he said that actually it's not that they're so hard to overcome, it's just that your will is weak. And he gave the example of disease and keeping oneself healthy. He said if you keep yourself healthy and your immune system is strong, you won't fall sick. And he said similarly, if you keep yourself spiritually fit, then you won't be overcome by material desires. So it's not a matter of it's not that they're that strong, it's just that my will is weak. Om Tat Sat.